tegemea yako. Nitakukumbusha useme.
Okay. No problem. I'm recording. Yeah. I'm just counter checking whether the recording is on. Yeah. So I was talking about error checking and evaluating a formula. So whenever you're working in Excel and you've written many formulas, and maybe you encounter an error on a formula, and you don't know where that error is coming from. So we have this option here for checking errors. So when you click on check error, so you can be able to trace where that error is coming from. So apart from that, you can also evaluate a formula. So if you are used to working with Excel and you are really good at formulas, right? So you might find yourself writing so complex, long formulas. And maybe at the end of it all, after writing that formula, it doesn't work. So you need to trace where that formula is not working. So for you to step through that formula, it's like decoding or another term is debugging that formula. So you can step through that formula, identifying how each piece of your formula is evaluating, right? So by doing that, you'll be able to identify the section that is not giving you a value or the section that is not working. So this is applicable when you've written long Excel formulas and you need to debug them. Yeah, it's like formula auditing. So whenever you hear about formula auditing in Excel, think of these areas whereby you can be able to trace precedents, whereby you can be able to trace dependence, whereby you can be able to see the formulas, where you can be able to see the errors, and whereby you can be able to debug your formulas. That is stepping through the formula to identify which section is not working. So they form a group of formulas called the auditing formulas in Excel. Apart from that, we have the watch window. You see on the formulas tab, it's look like it has glasses. Let me call glasses, Kuna miwani, watch window. So assuming that I have very important cells that I want to keep watching them, even if I'm working in a different sheet. I just want to see how those cells are changing without me specifically being on this specific sheet. So by doing this, by selecting watch window, I can select various cells on my workbook or on my sheet that I need to keep tracking on, even if I'm working in different sheets. So that is the role of the watch window. So when you become very good in Excel, you might find yourself using this. So you want to keep track on how the cell values of certain cells are changing as you navigate to the rest of the worksheets. So then we also have this option for calculations. So calculations enable you to calculate formulas either manually or automatically. So you might choose that whenever you open your Excel, you want just formulas to calculate automatically. Or you might just select you want your formulas to calculate manually, right? So those are the options that are available. And these are the tabs for calculating manually and automatically here. So you can also decide to calculate a formula in a certain sheet alone. This one you have to specify that when I'm in this sheet, I need the cell values to calculate automatically or manually. Yeah. So hope we will explore this as we move on. So I need us to move to a very important tab called the data tab. This one is the heartbeat of everything because it's a tab that can enable you to connect data from various data sources. So when you're working in Excel, you might want to import data maybe from a database like SQL, a database like Microsoft Azure, or a database like Access. Those are just examples of databases that you can import data from. So when you are in Excel, you can import data from those various sources. You can even import data from your local file on your machine. It can be in the documents folder, can be on desktop, local disk C, anywhere on your machine. So you can still import your data from those sources. And this is very important whenever you are analyzing your data because it also allows you to transform your data. Transforming means you are cleaning your data, that is converting your raw data into a format that you can analyze. So just at a glance, when you are on the data tab, we have this section on the left that allows you to get data from various sources. So when I just hover around it, you can see that description is that it allows you to connect and combine data from multiple data sources. So when I click on it, you can get data from a file, and that option from a file, it gives you several options as well. So you can import from a workbook, from a text file or a CSV file, from an XML file, from JSON file, even from a folder or from a SharePoint folder as well. You can also import it from a database. So when we talk about database, these are the databases that are available. So we have the SQL Server database, we have the Microsoft Access database, we have the analytics services, we have SQL Server Analysis, we have Oracle, IBM, MySQL. All these are databases that you can import data from. We also have Azure, and these are the options that you can also import from. We have online services with these all options. We have other sources, either be it from a table or from a range, from a website, from a SharePoint. Yeah. So you can explore this all sources. So it depends where your data is. So these are the various data sources that are available. So we have the file data sources, we have the databases, we have the Azure data source, we have online services, and then we have other sources as well. So whenever you are even let's say for example you are getting your data maybe from a system, let's say a call distributor system. Let's say you are using like CCS, for instance. When you download that data, it will come to your machine, that is to your downloads folder on your laptop or whichever machine you are using, either desktop or a laptop. So let's say it has come to your downloads, right? So you'll come to Excel, go to get data from file, let's say file, then you'll come from folder. So it will take you to a folder on your machine. So you can now navigate to the desktop because I believe when you download data, it automatically comes to your downloads, right? And then you will click on OK. So, so these are all the folders that are there on my downloads currently. So I'll select the data that I want to import, right? Yeah, so this step is very important, getting data from various sources. And then um, when you go to the data tab and you want to get the data source, so what you can call this part here, let me just highlight it. Let me highlight here. If you have these options here, this is what is called the Power Query. So what Power Queries allows you to do, it allows you to get data from various data sources. It allows you also to transform data. So it allows you to transform that data. So what I mean by data transformation is, for instance, let me say I want to get data, let's say from a workbook. And then let me just navigate to where I'm having my data set here. And then I click on import. So when I click on import, Excel won't allow you to just import it directly. So when you click on import, it will take you to this page or to this window. And we call this page the navigator window. So this is the navigator window. And what it allows you to do, it allows you to see on the file that you've selected, how many sheets are there. And what you are seeing currently is the sheet name that are there on that workbook that I have selected. So when you just import, when you haven't selected any item, this is the view that you'll see. It's the folder called the contact center mock data. It has 500 rows. And on that data set, we have two sheets. That is the contact center mock data. And also we have the data description. So which sheet do you want to import? So when you select this, or when you check on this box, it will now give you the option of selecting whether you want only this sheet or whether you want both of them. But notice, pay attention here. So pay attention to this section. So on the data description, initially, when we simply click on import, there's nothing that you are seeing here. It is waiting on us to select the sheets here that we want to import. So notice when I select, and when I come to check on this, you can now see it gives me the preview of the data that we want to import, right? So on the navigator, I'm now seeing the preview of the contact center mock data that has 500 rows. Up on the same page up to that point. Also, if I select this sheet as well, you will see it's also giving me an overview of that data set in that sheet, right? So before you can even load that data, before you can even load, before you can load, you need to transform that data. So that process is called data transformation. So what you are currently seeing here, it's the Power Query editor, but now you are on the navigator window, right? So if your data, if you know that your data is clean, it doesn't have issues, you simply click on load, right? But if we want to do data transformation, that is, we want to clean the data, we have to click on transform data. So when you click on transform data, it will now open now the Power Query itself. So what you are seeing here, this is now the Power Query editor in action. So it allows you to modify your data. So when we talk about data cleaning, data transformation, it's essentially taking place in the Power Query editor. So here, you can see we had selected two sheets. That is the contact center data and the data description sheet. Currently at the moment, we are at the contact center data set. And this is how the data is appearing, right? So what you are seeing here is, for instance, if we had the call ID column, you see, I remember I told you the other time, when we were doing pivot tables, you need to know the various data types that are there. Yeah, for instance, call ID, if it is a number, you should indicate that it is a number. If date, if it's a date, that column should indicate it's a date. So for instance, when I click here, you can see it is giving me the various number formats. We have decimal numbers, we have currencies, we have whole numbers, we have percentages, date and time, date alone, time alone. We have date, time, and time zone, duration, text, logical function, that is true or false. Binary is either 0 or 1. So those are the data types that are available. So for instance, when you download data, let's say you've downloaded it from CCS. Sometimes date comes as a text. Sometimes date comes as a text and you have to transform it to a date. So you come here, then select date. Also here, time. You see how it's coming. If you want to change the format maybe to duration, you can change it there, right? So these are the various data transformations that we will be doing when we have data from various data sources and we need to do what is called data manipulation or data managing, yeah? So that we make sure that that data is in a clean format. So this is what we will be utilizing, and this is called the Power Query. And you can, as you can see, it has so many options that you can choose from. Sometimes you even, when you are using this Power Query, you import data and the column headers are not there. So in that sense, you normally use first row as headers so that you have columns that have headers. Sometimes you have data that is different, but it has something in common. Let's say agent ID, right? So you have agent ID that is common in both data set. You have to merge the queries. You, you have to also append queries as well. So when dealing with such data, Power Query comes in handy. And it is really very important. And for instance, if you are dealing with a data set that has so many records, and let's say those records are coming in form of a large or a wide data. So a wide data assumes, for instance, if I'm having a call ID here, which represent the specific agents, and I have date. So instead of me having date that have been arranged in a column, I am having date that is arranged horizontally, which is really taking a lot of space. So you have to convert that data into a long format. So we have two data formats when you are doing analysis. We have the long data and also we have the wide data. So wide data is that data that is uh, wide horizontally. That is, it is occupying so many columns across. And then long data is now the one that you've modified. You've modified, that is, you've transposed it. So now the rows or the columns become the rows, right? And you'll find it handy when you are analyzing agent data. Yeah, so this juncture, it was just to show you the power of this. Let me just close this. The power of the get data and the Power Query. So it is very important. So I think from my discussion, you've seen how this tab is very important in combination with the Power Query. And then we have this by default. You can get data from text, you can get it from a web, from a table or a range, or if you have recent connections, you can get data from there. If you have existing connections, you can also get data from that point. And then we have refresh all. So when you've imported data, sometimes Excel doesn't even detect that you've imported data or whether you've gotten data from a new data source. Sometimes you have to refresh for Excel to recognize, oh, we have a new data source that has been imported. right? So if you have queries and connections that you've done to your data, you can always get it from this point, queries and connections. And then we have this other option for sorting your data. Sorting. So when I simply click on that option for sorting, so you can see it is giving me this field headers, this a column headers that I am supposed to sort from. So you can sort either based on cell values, sort either by cell color, font color, conditional formatting, and so on, right? So that's the option for sorting. You can either sort in a descending order, ascending order, and so on. Apart from that, we have this option for filter. So filter allows you to apply filters to your data. So when you put filters to your headers or column fields, you can be able now to see this drop down for the contents that are there. Yeah, so here you can see we have billing, retention, sales, support, and technical as the categories that are there under teams. So you can also do advanced filtering. I think this option will explore as we go by. And then not to forget, this part is very crucial. Let me even highlight it. Very crucial in data analysis specifically when you are using Excel. Here is very important. So when you see text column, this part text column, this is for removing duplicates. This part is for doing data validation. This part is for linking your data to the data model. Very important in data analysis and when you are working in Excel. So let us begin with text column. So text to column, um, for instance, let me just put our names in one cell. So I'll start with Fred, and then move to Olivia, Agnes, and Violet. And Violet, right? So those are the names. So remember, this is in one cell. It's in one cell. For instance, you can simply download data from a certain data source, but you find that data is separated just by commas and it's just occurring in a single cell. What will you do? So let's say I'm having like 20,000 records, and when I pull the data, column B contains the names of my agents, but it is separated by commas. How will I go about that? So the solution will be just highlight that column, come here, text columns, and then at this juncture we'll use delimited, and then simply click on next, and then it is the separator or the delimiter that has been applied there is a comma. And then click on next, and then next, then finish. So you see now the names now have been separated. So we have Fred in cell B1, Olivia cell C1, Agnes cell D1, Violet cell E1. So right now it can be easier to separate manually if you have few records. But what if you have 1,000 records? Will you do that manually? No, we want to be able to do that. So in that regard, we can utilize uh, text to column, or even um, we can have we can have maybe instead of the delimiter being a comma, it can be a forward slash. It can be a forward slash like this, right? So you have 1,000 records and the names have been appearing in a single cell, but they have been just been separated with a forward slash, and you want to split the names to be in different cells. So you simply come here, select that column, go text to column, and then choose delimited, go to next. So on the separator now, instead of using a comma, you put that forward slash, right? And then click on next. See now the names have been separated, right? So you can do that. Also, we have the option. For instead of now um, using delimited, you are using fixed width. And you can see the description here. Fields are aligned in columns with spaces between field. So for instance, let me just undo what I did here. Uh, let's say it separated it by a space instead of a forward slash like that. See? So this is not one name. These are separate names, but it's appearing in a single cell. So you simply select on that, come here, text column, and then fixed width, and then simply keep on clicking on next, next, and then finish. So when the names have been, or when the contents have been separated by a space and they are occurring in a single cell, you use this option, fixed width. When it is separated by a character, either a comma, forward slash, or whichever character, you use delimited. Hope we are together up to that point. So I'm just illustrating this so that you know. So, but there are also some times when there are some times when maybe you have dates. Sometimes you can have issues with dates, and sometimes if you don't know how to navigate with date and time formats in Excel, you can really have a headache because some dates, sometimes you can have data, you've imported data, but now it is coming as a text and you want to convert it into a date. So you simply come here. Now we use the delimiter. So go to next, remove, don't put a separator there. Go to next. So you see, maybe your data has come as text. You have to now select it so that it reads properly. And then you simply click on OK. So that is part of data cleaning in Excel, of which I will explore further as we go. And then we do have also this option, remove duplicates. So remove duplicates is very, very important because when you are working with a large data set, you might have values that have repeated themselves. For instance, here, um, like for priority, if for instance I don't know, let me just copy this and go to a new sheet. I do not know how many categories are here, right? So I can simply come here, just select, come here to remove duplicates. Make sure this is selected. So we have three distinct categories. That is medium, low, and high. That is how we can remove duplicates in our data. We also have data validation. So data validation, it allows you to pick from a list. So you can have a list maybe of 3 items, 5 items, 10 items that you need to pick from. So with that, you can choose to use data validation. So in this cell, you can simply come and then select data validation. And maybe if you need from a list, and then you select the source, like maybe this source, like that, then click on OK. So when I come to this cell, I can select or say, so with a drop down. So we will explore also options for including our data to a data model. And then when we are doing planning, when you are doing planning is when you can make use of what if analysis. So this is majorly applied in the contact center environment, especially in workforce, whereby you are doing scenario analysis and you want to explore various outcomes of what might happen based on given scenarios or given various conditions. Let's say we want to know how our SLA will be affected when maybe we increase planned in office shrinkage to let's say 10%, or when we reduce in office shrinkage to let's say 5%. What will be the impact on our SLA? So that is the application of what if analysis. And then we have the forecast. This forecast, it allows you to create a forecast based on historical data. So when you have data, let's say data for 3 months, let's say you have call data from for the last 3 months and you want to do forecast. The forecast sheet can allow you to do forecasting based on that data. Hope together up to that point. Then
Yes.
apart from that, we have these options for grouping and grouping, and also this for subtotals. So let me just highlight it when you need grouping. So when you are working with a large data set, let's say you have so many records, right? Let's say uh, this category is simply tracking call volumes, right? Let me just do it practically. Let's say here we are tracking call volumes. And then we have here, let's say we are tracking SLA. Have multiple cells, that. Let's say we are also tracking QA. We are tracking QA, right? So I'm just to center this, just to center this. So when we have many categories, it will be hard for someone to navigate through and know the categories that are there: call volumes, SLA, and QA. So what we can do, we can choose to group cells. So by grouping, we can achieve that by either selecting it this way, like this. So when you select that, I go to the data tab and I select group. So when I select group, you can see this end on your left. You can see something like a line is there. So when I click on it, it shrinks. So, and when I click on it again, it expands. Right? That is what we mean by grouping. So you can also see here the top left. It's shrinking, it's expanding. Shrink, expand. Right? Then we can also do the same here for SLA. Go to data and also group. You can see now we've grouped call volumes. We have SLA, and then we have QA here. We can also group this. Go to data and then group. So you can see we've grouped this, but if now we are not interested in the contents, but we only need to see the call volumes, the SLA percentages, and the QA percentages, we can hide the others, right? But if we want everything, we can simply expand, right? So ungroup is just doing the opposite. Sorry. So simply select and go to ungroup. So we've removed the ungrouped. Same applies, same can be applied to columns as well. So let me just illustrate this. You can decide to, let's say these cells, I decide to group them. So then move to other cells as well, select, and then again group. Move again to other cells again, and then we group. That is it, group. So when I want to shrink, I just shrink them like this. You will see a plus here, right? So when you see this, or when you encounter this in Excel, it means the columns have been grouped, and you can expand them. And this is very important because when you have data that has so many elements, let's say if for instance I've been tracking call volumes for the last 4 years, yes, I need all of that data, but what I really want is to concentrate on the current year. So I can decide maybe data for the last 3 years, I group them and hide it like this, right? So these represent my calls data for the last 3 years. But you can't know it at the blink of an eye because I've grouped them and the contents aren't visible, but I just have the numbers here, maybe the aggregates. But if I want to see the contents, like for instance, 2020 January, February till December, I can expand and see the months here, right? I can expand, I see 2021 months, how are we doing? I can expand again, I see 2022, the contents, right? But on the moment, I'm concentrating the current year. So I group them. So the contents are hidden. I'm just seeing the aggregates of 2021, 2020, 2021, 2022. But currently here, I'm just concentrating with the current year. So that's how you can make use of the group and ungroup. Hope we are together up to that point.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that marks the end on the data tab menu, which is actually the heartbeat of Excel. So we can't do without this. So you can't manipulate your data if you don't know how to move along the data tab, right? So it's very important. Review. The review tab is nothing much to worry about it because what it allows you just to check the contents like the spellings, proofreading, checking accessibility. Yeah, nothing much. And then you can allows you to protect your worksheet. You can protect your worksheets. You can protect your workbook. You can share, can protect and share, allow users to edit ranges, track changes. So that's essentially the role of the review tab. And most often, you won't be using it unless you see the need, but it is important as well to know. And then we have the view tab. On the view tab, it's important because you see we have when you want to either view grid lines. So when you are preparing dashboards, for instance, when you are preparing a dashboard in Excel, you might not want to see these grid lines. So you might choose to unselect grid lines so that you are having a view like this. So Excel without grid lines. So it makes your dashboards to look beautiful, right? So you can also decide page layout. See what I've done here. The page layout, when I select page layout, so here you add headers. Also here you add headers. You can decide on what to put on the footers, the headers, also the page numbers. See here the page number here. You can decide the number of pages, and then current date, current time, the file name, the sheet name, all of this under the view. So nothing much to worry on the view tab. And one of the things that I just like to point out when you are using the view tab, something that you might want to use often is called the free spans. So free spans, and I can illustrate this one. So on the view tab, you can decide to free spans. Free spans means, for instance, when you are, let me free spans what I have right now. See, when I'm scrolling down, I can't see the column headers, right? And when you're having millions of or thousands of records, maybe you might want to keep visibility. You want to see visibility of the column headers. So by that, for you to be able to do that, you'll use this option for free spacing. So you simply select, come here to free space, and then you can choose to free space the top row alone. So when I scroll downwards, yes, I can see all the other records, but I have visibility on the column fields, that is the column headers. I have visibility for them. You can also decide, for instance, if your goal is to keep visibility of the contents of your rows, let's say the call ID, and I'm assuming we have so many columns going to your right, and you just want to keep visibility of this first column as well, of the contents of call ID. So I'll simply come here to view tab and then free spans, but instead of row now, I'll choose free spans first column, so that whenever I'm scrolling across, I have visibility on the call IDs here on the first column. So, but you can also decide to do both. You can decide to free spans both columns, to free spans both columns and rows. So by that, you simply choose this first option, free spans columns and rows. Yeah, so that's it with regarding to view tab. So this is very important when you are working with large data sets. So hope we are together up to that point, and that will mark the end of Excel window exploration. That is on the quick access toolbar, the ribbon, which we've currently concluded. Maybe one more thing to touch on that is now the scroll bars. You must know these scroll bars. These scroll bars here, you're scrolling to the right. We can't ignore. You're scrolling to the left. And then we have here scrolling up, scrolling down. So these are called the scroll bars. right? Zinaitwa scroll bars hizi. Then never forget we have also the taskbar. And I remember I touched on it when we started the training. The taskbar, for instance, when you highlight something, like let's say I highlight this. When I highlight this, so when you look here at the bottom, where you are seeing average, count, and numerical count, minimum, maximum, sum, that is the task. That's the task. And then you have these views. So you can decide you want a normal view, which is the default, right? You can also have this view. So it is not working because right now I have free space, the rows and columns. But I've seen when I am free space, this is the view here. So this is the page layout view, and you can see how it looks like. So this is the page layout view. We have the normal view. Along we have page break preview. So page break preview looks like this. You see now the data looks like that is the page break preview. It has divided it into sections. See, till page 41. So this is important because when you are working in Excel, you might find yourself by mistake umeklik hapa, alafu unashangaa kwani nini imefanyika na Excel? What's happening? So you begin worrying, not knowing it's just that you've changed the layout of Excel. So knowing this is very important. So when this happens, just come here to page layout or come now to here, the normal view. Understood? Hope mmeelewa that point.
Yes.
Yes. So the taskbar, the quick access toolbar, the ribbon and its menus, the workbook, the worksheets, the cells, the scroll bars, all of that we've covered. So I think the only bit that I think wasn't covered is self-referencing. And I can just highlight it in 2 minutes. When you are working with Excel, when you're working with Excel, so when you talk about a cell reference, so rows are represented by index numbers. Take note of that. Rows being represented by index numbers. So, and we have, it is Excel can accommodate even to 1,000,000 and something rows. And what you are seeing here, this is the row index. So this is row index 1, row index 2, row index 3, row index 4, row index 5, row index 6, row index 7, and so on. So that is how we define rows in Excel. And then we have columns. Columns are being referred to the letters. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F going all through. going all those points. So whenever you are now referring to a cell, you are combining both the column and the row. And we begin with the column. So whenever I want to refer to this cell, I'll say it is cell A1, right? It is cell A1, cell A2, cell A3, A4, A5, like that. And then this one is, this is cell B1, cell B2, cell B3. That is how we do referencing in Excel. It is very important because when you advance with Excel and move to working with the VBA and you are working with macros, when you are referring to cells, you really need to know how to reference them. So for instance, when I want to maybe prepare a break schedule, or let's say 100 agents, right? And I'm working with VBA. I just want to automate things, right? I want to automate. So I want to simulate agent schedules for 100 people or 100 agents. So knowing how to refer to cells will enable me uh, to work efficiently, especially when I'm working with VBA codes, right? Because I'll tell VBA, look from cell A1 to cell A100 and simulate breaks for me like that. You see, that's the beauty of knowing how to refer to cell references. Yeah, so that was the bit that was remaining in Excel window exploration. So what we are left with? What we are left with is this. So we're done with the Excel interface. So I'll prepare a mini project exercise for that, maybe over the weekend. So we explored the Excel interface, ribbon exploration. Then tomorrow we are now going deeper now. We are going to now start the real thing, that is data entry, formatting, and alignment, of which thing we've covered a bit of it uh, when we were doing exploration of Excel interface. And then we'll also move to workbook management. And then, if possible, uh, let's say we dedicate this one for tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we can now introduce uh, contact center concepts. We begin with KPIs, and also we cover WFM and MIS terminologies that are used in contact centers. Yeah. So with this, we'll be able to know, especially here on workbook management, it will allow us to know how to work professionally. So we are not only working, but we should work professionally. So you should know how to organize your workbook, how to name your workbook, not just saving. So there is a way in which we save so that uh, other people who will be going through our work can know which data we were working with. So that falls under Excel workbook and worksheet management. So we'll cover this before we dig deeper into our future lessons. So for today, we call it a day, unless there's any question or comment. Yeah, 30 minutes past 9. Munikumbushe bwana, sisahau ku stop the recording.